Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is life coach and LOA teacher Joel Elston.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And today the topic is vibration, which you can't live with it. You can't live without it. Sometimes it seems like, anyway, that there are times we wish we didn't have to live with vibration. But that's one of the reasons why we're going to talk about it today, because it's one of those things we actually have a lot more control over than some of us are willing to acknowledge or admit. And when you take control, that's when the good stuff happens. That's when the stuff happens that, life starts to get cool. The roller coaster just turns into an adventure ride. Everything gets better just because we embrace the vibration. But we haven't talked directly about vibration in a while, Joel, so I think we're overdue.
Yeah, we really are. And vibration, it tuning your vibration to what you want, tuning into what you want, the life you want, the people you want, when you're vibrating the stuff you want instead of vibrating the stuff you're scared of, and that's the key. It's so the concept. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about this. You hear Bruce Lipton, a neuroscientist and part of the Human Genome Project, talks about every cell of your body picks up on whatever vibration you're giving up. Or giving out. So you're if it's generally positive, there's the concept that the body keeps score, the body listens, the body takes whatever vibration. So not only does it affect you, but it affects your environment, it affects the way people are around you. Your vibration is fundamental. It is the most, almost like, to me, your vibration is sort of describing things that when you look at the building blocks of like atoms, for example, vibration is the functional part of the law of attraction. And being able to, we have total control over our vibration. We assume we don't, but when you can raise your level of vibration, there's I don't find them particularly earth-shattering in the sense of being helpful, but like binaural beats and certain energies you can listen to, they claim they will raise your vibration. I don't know if that really works. I've listened to a bunch. They're good for meditations for sure, but I find that internal vibration is mine to control. I've learned to control the vibration and tuning in to the frequency. Your vibration, it goes out in a frequency, and there's multiple frequencies. There's sad frequencies, there's anxious frequencies. I mean, any combination of emotions or that goes on. So the frequency, the vibration is what you're sending out, and the frequency of that vibration is what you're going to attract to you.
Yeah, that's good. It was just occurring to me also, as you know, I do 2 shows on Monday. The show I did earlier was with a fascinating woman from Australia named Ina Siegel, who is one of these emotion body people. She studied the relationship between what goes on in your body and what your emotions are all about. And really fascinating conversation we had today. But it also kind of reinforced for me because of some of the things she talked about. And I definitely recommend that people listen to that episode for more information about it. But some of the things that we were talking about during that episode really, really reinforced for me, not just how important the vibration is, and like you say, just how much control we have over it, but also, like you said, how much we dismiss it.
Yes.
And when you dismiss it, that's when the things like emotions affecting your body adversely happen. And she had a whole history of that. And she has a bunch of clients who have a whole history of that.
Well, and that becomes we've used the term spiraling up or spiraling down, spiraling in a direction. That's not some mystical wild thing that's happening, that we can't understand. It is the vibration. The vibration follows the vibration. So if your vibration is negative and down, you will have a spiral downward. If your vibration is up, you can control that. And so on days that you're having a really bad day, that is the energy. It's, you'll notice days have trends. And you asked me how my Monday was, and I said Mondays are always great. It's just how weird they are. So
yeah, that's right. What's the weirdness scale today?
yeah, and it was a shockingly non-weird Monday.
Disappointing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, a little disappointing that it wasn't more weird. Because I sort of thrive on weird Mondays. But the reality when you wake up and you get up, if you have a cold, you have a fever, you wake up anxious or something, you're locked into a vibrational beginning of the day.
Right.
And if you're not aware of that, You often heard, I don't leave the house until I adjust my mindset for the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of that mindset includes what my mindset will have a matching vibration. So that's one of the things. So if I go out and things are not great, then I'm going to keep attracting things that are not great.
Right.
The other day, I had this. I was running late, and I never run late. I'm freakishly on time. I always do that. And then I was running late. I'd miscalculated traffic, and so when I was running late, now I began to like, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late. And so ironically or magically, I guess would be a better term, I literally started getting stopped by every red light.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And so there's a parking lot, and where I was going is in the middle of the city of Richmond. And I just, there's nothing but red lights. So I literally pulled into a parking lot, even though I knew I was going to be late. And I thought for a second, it's okay. Let me adjust this vibration. I'm on the bad track right now, and so I texted my client and said, I am on my way. I don't think I'm going to be late, but I'm putting it out there. If it is, it'll be 2 or 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Client said, actually, I'm running a little late myself. That's fine. I'll wait for you if you're not there.
Okay.
Get back on the road. All green lights. Get there 2 minutes early.
Wow.
And, it's just I stopped to adjust the vibration. Also, I took the pressure off of the client. And
Yes.
so once I did that, I was not vibrating on this anxiety level of being late. Then everything flowed. And it was just that's a simple example of what you can do. But in the middle of a day, if you have a bad day and you're perceiving it as continually have a bad day, taking a break and really focusing on what you're vibrating, what you're feeling, what energy you're putting out there is a way to adjust it. And when people, the vibration is the tool, the frequency, the vibration happens, the frequency of that vibration is the basis of the law of attraction. It's everything. It
I
is the
love that.
basis of it. And
Yeah.
it all takes place. You don't have to do, when we talk about this, one week we talk about how simple the law of attraction is. The next week we're talking about vibration frequencies and all the other stuff. This is on cruise control. You don't have to think about all the processes. That's why the emotional guidance scale is a really good way of adjusting your frequency. You don't have to say, "Oops, I got to adjust the frequency." But when you raise your level and you move up the emotional guidance scale, then the frequency vibration is adjusted.
One thing I have found, though, is that it is worthwhile. It does pay dividends to kind of check in with yourself throughout the day and pay attention and literally ask yourself, where am I at vibrationally right now?
Absolutely. Yes. And one of the demonstrations that I used to do with my clients before whichever client stole my tuning forks, I had 2 matching tuning forks. Well, I forget the frequency. And then I had another set of matching tuning with a different frequency. So when a tuning fork of the same frequency is hit, and then you hold it, it can be quite a distance, and the frequency resonates with the matching frequency, and you can see there's a field. You can't see the field, but you can see feel the vibration in the other one. I use that's called resonance, and I use that example a lot when you resonate with a frequency.
Right.
Also, the same thing happens no matter how hard I bang that the opposite or different frequency. It has no effect on the other tuning fork.
Right.
I use that example when in coaching to say, here's what's happening with our frequencies. And, so law of attraction based on what are the things I want, what I want to accomplish, what are my goals. That's the frequency of putting that, believing you're getting them, believing that is taking place is a frequency that it operates at. So vibration, you're breaking down sort of the mechanics of the law of attraction at play.
I remember when I first became aware of the importance, the importance of checking in with yourself throughout the day. I actually started off by setting time periods, like once every 2 hours, I'd have an alarm on my phone to remind me, okay, check in. How are you doing with your vibration right now? That lasted about 3 days. That was about all I could handle of that one. But it did kind of set the track. It set the tone of about how I was going to go forward. So now, whenever I reach an obvious point, like, there's a break in the action. There's, I'm stopping for lunch. I'm going to do a bathroom break. Or something happens that kind of breaks up the day for a little bit. I use those as my opportunities now to just check in with myself. It took me a while to make that part of my conscious thing. Now it's easy. It's like, you learn a dance step. When you're learning it, it's really hard to learn the dance step. Once you got it, it's just kind of, rote memory. You don't even have to think about it. It's the same
Right.
thing with this.
Yes.
But you do have to kind of consciously start by just saying, I'm making time throughout my day to do stuff. And the nice thing is we do have normal stopping points, normal milestones, whatever you want to call it, during the day that just lend themselves to it. So really all we have to do is train ourselves to check in at those times.
Absolutely. And I don't have a formal time check-in because that's not the way my brain works, but
Right.
I have frequent check-ins. And one of the odd things about my job is I might have 8-9 sessions lined up for a day on a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every day somebody will call out or be late or something. Almost at least one person. Very seldom is
Right.
it more than one. So I've come to just allow those moments, and I don't freak out about them because I use those moments to middle of the day meditation, check in on frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
When I get in my car. One thing that that I still work a lot on is getting mad while driving. And so I'm constantly adjusting my frequency. I'm in no rush. I'll be able to do this.
Yep.
These people aren't disrespecting me. They're not. They're just simply oblivious to what they're doing. They're on their own. So I have that dialogue with myself in the areas that I know I could be, to make sure my vibration doesn't slip into a negative victim mindset. The world's out to get me and all that stuff. Because when I'm driving, it's like, okay, that could go bad quickly if I don't do that.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt about that. That can
Yeah.
go bad very quickly. The other thing that I noticed, and your example about driving made me think of it. I was out on a date about, I've been on a number of dates lately, but this particular date was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And we had gone down to the coast, and now we were driving down to another part of the coast to go visit a state park. And on the way, we were in the midst. Now, this is I-95, which is not all that different from the traffic in the Richmond area. It's just crazy traffic between New York City and Rhode Island. So,
Yes.
on the weekend, you might as well be in the middle of the rush hour because that's the way it is all the time.
Right.
And my date says to me, is the traffic bothering you? I mean, is this something do we need to take a break? Maybe we need to take a side road or something. And my instant response, I didn't even have to think about it. My instant response was, oh no, it's fine because I get to talk with you. I get to have a conversation with you. And it occurred to me afterward, I had just instantly bought into the idea of relaxing in the face of this crazy traffic I was in, just by redirecting my attention to something else I liked. In this case, it was really easy. I mean, I really like her, so that made it a whole lot easier. But I mean, it can be anything. It can be anything that you like. Just the redirection of attention. If you make that your habit, it's going to go. It's going to go well.
Well, one of the things that I visually try to do, not visually, I don't know where that came from. What I try to do vibrationally is, you've heard me say this before, but whether it's a meeting or meeting with a client or giving a talk or just hanging out with a friend, I try to influence the energy in the room. I raise my vibration and I project that vibration to the room. It sounds silly, but I raise my visualization is I'm raising the vibration to match my vibration in the room. And there's been a few times, and one of my friends that we go out to dinner a lot, she's a doctor here in town, so her schedule's weird, so we'll do these last minute dinners. And she said, there's something when you sit down, the server, and she said, I've never been with something that it's just like there's an energy that you just project. The table next to you always talks to you. The servers are always asking you questions. And she said, it's just a phenomenon that I've witnessed, and I didn't really even notice it. And I told her, I said, I want that. I'm trying to get that energy. The last time we went out to dinner at my favorite restaurant, the server was a nice young man, and I was asking about what he wanted to do in school. He wants to be a psychiatrist. We talked about neuroscience and all that. And so at the end of the meal, he brings us a really, really nice, big, juicy key lime pie slice. And while I didn't really appreciate it for the carb count, but I really appreciated it for the concept, And I said, wow, thank you very much. And he goes, he said, tonight was a bunch of assholes, to be honest with you. And he said that this is my most fun table I've had in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, I said, yeah. And I said, on top of that, you're gonna get that special extra high vibrational tip too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes.
And as you probably can figure, I tip big usually. So
I'm sure you do.
yeah, I tip well, and because again, I just think that's part of the vibration I put out there,
Yeah.
with that. So so when people notice that your vibration, I could be at the grocery store waiting in line, and people start talking to me, and that's a vibration that I'm putting out all the time, being approachable, and I've had it just young people that I had no idea who I am just start talking to me about their problems while I'm waiting at a grocery store. It's because I'm open to that energy, and I try to put out that feeling. So you when you're with somebody like you're talking about, your vibration was in the right place. There's nothing you can do about the traffic. You enjoy being with this woman. The point of a date is to be with this lady. You're together in the car,
right?
So the date's on.
The
you
date's
have conversation.
Fine, yeah.
It doesn't matter where it's in your car or at the restaurant.
Oh, and by the way, just as an aside, about 3 minutes after we had that little exchange, all the traffic got out of the way, and we had this clear, open sailing for the rest of the trip.
That's I believe in that kind of stuff, as you know. It probably once you realize, okay, well, I guess that's the vibration now. And but when you're thinking about things like I'm seeing a lot of my young people that are going off to college. This is really the last week or so before they leave for college.
Right.
And so I often, every year I meet with, I don't know, this year I think it's like 30 of them that are going off to college.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm meeting with them. We're just talking about concepts, and these are all my clients are brilliant young people. So I'm telling them all. It's funny you said that. They said, "What's the most important tip you can give me?" I said, "Your vibration, your energy. You wake up. That you know the material. That this. We've gone through atomic habits and how you study and all that. Don't forget all that stuff. That's great. But
Sure.
Your main job is to keep that mindset right. These guys that are in calculus and these in statistics and these really higher end maths that drive people crazy. You got this." But only approach it with the vibration of you got it. Don't approach it with the vibration of this. I can't do this. And so most of them are getting the pep talk of it. It's just we're already there. There's only one of them going away for college the first time, so he had a different talk. But everybody else is just about how you adjust your day. I want you to have fun, but there's let's not get lost in why we're there. So have some fun, but let's not make it all about that. Let's try to have that vibrational energy. We got a mission to accomplish. We're leaving. The next time I'll see you will be at Christmas. Let's get, and so we plan that. And some of them I actually check in with. We have sessions virtually during that time, but it's always about adjusting your energy and preparing for what you're facing.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely beautiful that you do that. And I'm not terribly surprised you have that many, but when you said 30, I said, whoa, this guy's got one amazing schedule. That was my instant reaction.
Well, some years it ebbs, but this year is just all cumulative. It builds up. And then I got, high school here starts next week.
Right.
And I usually don't see them before high school. Once high school gets going again, I start seeing those guys in person then. So but college is usually this last week, and I'm blessed to have a lot of these young men. They're college age now. Some of them I've been working with since they were 13 or 14, so we're very close. They're very tuned in, and it's just sort of a obligatory check-in for them. They feel sort of a right. Their moms and dads are saying, "You need to talk to Joel before you leave. Keep talking to Joel before you leave." And they gladly do that.
Something just occurred to me when you were talking about the importance to the college students of maintaining their vibration and being aware of it, conscious of it on a regular basis. This past weekend, I as you know, I've been doing the show now for about 13 years. And during that time, oh God, we've had so many people on the show. Besides the conversations you and I had over the years, I've also added other co-hosts and guests and so forth. And some of the guests have had amazing talents, amazing abilities. Including some, many people who are psychic, of various kinds of psychic abilities, people who have learned how to move energy, all kinds of stuff. And one of the topics that has come up periodically throughout the years is Reiki, which is basically a Japanese energy system. And I've had on numerous occasions, I've had guests say, have you ever taken a Reiki class? And I said, oh, no, that's something that I may do it at some point, but never really got around to doing it. Well, turns out my lady friend was also into it. She had taken the Reiki 1 and 2 and asked me, had I ever considered taking it? And I told her the same thing, but got to thinking, I said, well, maybe I'll take it in this case. Just, it's always good to do. She knows some people who have a really good Reiki class. So, well, why don't I just take a class, just see what happens? Took the class over the weekend. By the way, lots of energy exchange on that. There's a whole story I could tell about that one. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is in conjunction with the idea of maintaining your vibration. Not only was I maintaining my vibration, but I was getting an added benefit. And this occurred to me, this might be of interest to college students, because one of the comments that my lady friend made to me after I took the class was, you took that class, that made you one of the sexiest men I've ever met. Now, that was the last thing I ever thought of associating with a Reiki class. But there is something sexy about maintaining your vibration.
And also maybe men doing real self-care is a
well, yeah, there is that piece. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I have to be honest about that.
Most men don't do this kind of stuff.
This is true. Yeah.
Let's get some credit for the self-care out there.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, what she's saying is, it does, when you look at that, because you're especially when something she's into and you're doing, remember my analogy about crystals, like,
yes,
crystals don't work for me, but if they work for you, I'm all on board for crystals. They work great.
Right.
So now I've had Reiki. I always say Reiki. I always get it wrong, whichever one, Reiki. But I love it. It worked. But it's all that is energy vibration. That's all that is. That's it. And so that's great. But there's, to me, that's something you can learn to do without the class, so to speak. It's there.
Well, actually, that's interesting you should say that, because I used to do something with my ex-wife. She used to get migraines, and I used to do this thing. I think we actually found like a half a page out of an old Reiki manual that somebody shared with us that described this one little process, and I used to do it with her. I did the same thing during the class, and they were so impressed with what I was doing. I'm thinking, oh, this is all I've been doing all along. There's nothing new going on here.
Well, it's funny because I never really do this anymore just because of the time constraints. But I'm a hypnotherapist as well. I don't use hypnotherapy very much, but I use the concepts of it. And the truth is, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, no matter who's doing it. It's all self-hypnosis. So if I'm doing it, conducting for you, you're still doing it yourself. Reiki is a similar concept. It's great to learn it, but it's you can do that with you and your partner. It translates in a lot of ways,
It not only translates, it enhances.
Yes, completely. And I know, not that we get into these, we're not a sex discussion show generally. I'm not opposed to it, but we normally don't talk about it.
Not normally, no.
Yeah, but I know the intimacy of people sharing vibrational energy.
Oh, yeah.
I had an experience one time. I word it very appropriately, just an encounter with a friend of mine who, she's outstanding lady, and we were having a therapeutic psychedelic experience.
Okay.
And that really heightened the connection. So there's a vibration and a connection taking place. So within that, when you have whether it's sex or just general connection or bonding, when the energy vibration is together, that's why, to me, when you're in love with somebody and you have sex with them, it's far more meaningful and intense than just random sex.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
The
connection is actually almost more important than the sex.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I did a lot of research that with strippers back in the Las Vegas years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And have come to that conclusion that
okay. So the expert testimony has come through.
Yeah, I really did. I researched that in depth.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always knew that you were a guy who did deep research, so I'm glad to hear that.
No problem. I just pretty much came to the conclusion, like, yeah, okay, that's not the same.
But it really is true. The connection. This actually ties into a much larger topic that we've touched on in previous episodes. The power of human connection, not just intimate connection between partners, but any human connection.
Oh,
Human
yeah.
connection is massively large, and vibration, of course, plays a major role in that, because the vibration is what makes the connection either likable or not likable, desirable or
Yes.
not desirable. But it's also there's a multiplication effect, a geometric effect, when you have two or more people connecting in a way where they're all on a similar vibrational level.
Yes.
In other words, you know what I mean? Because when they're all on the same level, it's like everybody's energy feeds everybody else's, and it literally creates a multiplying effect. Like if there's X amount of power coming out of having your own energy that you're focusing on your thing regularly, by combining together, you can get like 4 times, 10 times, 20 times as much energy, just because you're interacting with somebody else's energy that's similar to yours. It's amazing how that works.
Well, and one of the things that happens with a lot of the pro athletes that I work with, or competitors in various sports, practice is grinding and grueling, and that's a necessary thing. But the adrenaline, the vibration in the stadium on Sunday, or the
Yes.
arena on game night in a basketball game, that vibration is raised and their performance is enhanced and they feel it. So part of being in the flow state is when you're in that all that energy. And the one and so, a few of my players, I talk to them before games because they have a hard time not getting too into the energy, and they're overstimulated and they lose track of. So they're, for some of them, it's just balancing the energy and not overloaded by it. Others are just, but nonetheless it's a different feel. The a preseason game, the Hall of Fame game was last week or something. The two, nobody cares. It's a
Right.
low energy game. Well, when the Super Bowl happens, there's billions of people watching it. It's
Oh yeah.
really intense. It's a entirely different vibration and energy that comes out. If you watch those two games, the intensity is just tangible in difference of what they're doing.
That's a great example of how big the difference can be. I love that you pulled that one out there. And there's a little adjunct that goes along with it. And I'm sure you've identified it before, but I want to bring it out here. I have noticed that if I attend a live sporting event, and it's a team event, so you have the home team and the visiting team, and by the way, the statistics bear this out in all of the sports. But if you have a home team with a home audience and the home audience's vibe is high, the odds of the home team winning are astronomically high.
Well,
But
in
if
fact,
the vibration is not really high, if it's sort of like, oh, okay, this is good, not so good what the results are going to be. I mean, literally how the crowd feels plays directly into how well the team plays.
one of the things that I did a lot of research on that years ago as well is the bookies and at sports books when they set the point spread.
Mm.
One of the first things, like almost any NFL team that is at home, automatically gets 3 points added to their favor automatically for being at home.
Right.
So when you ask two evenly matched teams, let's say last year you had Philadelphia and Kansas City were really good teams.
Right.
Right to the end. And if you ask who's the favorite, are they going to be home field? Are they going to be Super Bowl's a neutral field? That's what they're pretty much. It doesn't affect it, but a lot has to do with where they're at. Like there used to be a stat years ago, and this was very. And one thing about statistics, that they are real and they exist. And for years on Monday Night Football, the Oakland Raiders, the eventually LA Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, they had a phenomenal home field Monday night advantage. I mean, it was talked about. The Raiders don't lose at home on a Monday night. It just it doesn't happen. And in college, I'm a big college football fan. Back 3 weeks away from we're back. Really excited about that.
Yeah.
But LSU, I'm a Florida Gator, but LSU, Louisiana State University, a Saturday night home game at LSU is the toughest. It's been deemed the toughest place to play in all of college sports
I believe it.
because they're so loud. They measure like a small earthquake.
Yes.
There's an energy, and LSU fans believe it. Their players believe they don't lose on a Saturday night at LSU, and
It makes sense.
it bears out. And so
Yeah.
what you're saying is that's a tangible enough that sports books set the line based on who's a home field advantage because of the fan. And they'll even take it further. There's some teams like the Buffalo Bills, for example.
Yeah.
They
Well, they're a
have
great example.
they have probably one of the best fan bases in the country.
Yep.
And they bring so much energy to the game. So there's even like a higher consideration when you're at home in Buffalo that they're playing, because that's even more, that's like the ultimate home field advantage. Then you add Buffalo in a snow driven.
You're pretty much in trouble at that point if you're
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Buffalo's guaranteed to win. They're probably a 6-point favorite based on that because it's their home field advantage. So, and a lot of it has to do, and then when the players buy into that, then they perform to that expectation. That's a vibration they meet as well.
Let's return to that one in a moment too, because that expectation is huge.
Yes.
But I just wanted to point out, I mean, you made some great examples about pro football and college football, but it's all sports. Major League Baseball, pro basketball, college basketball, ice hockey, soccer. You look at the statistics over and over and over again. It's very consistent that the home team wins at least 55 to 60% of the time in all sports.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what kind of sport it is. Every single one of them has that experience.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the sport itself. It has to do with what's going on with the fan base.
Absolutely. It has to do with the mindset, the expectation, the what your vibrational level matches, because and I know you were talking about expectation, but that's a factor in your vibration. Mm-hmm. So what you're expecting to happen is a vibration unto itself. That's part of it. So when you really expect something to happen and your vibration is that, then the odds of that happening are far greater, obviously, than it's not. It doesn't mean there's not anomalous events and stuff like that, but for the most part, outside of sports, just in life, you're pretty much living the life you believe you're going to be living because that's what you're vibrating at. You wake up every day, you repeat the same cycle, and if you're doing it right, you're identifying what works and then what doesn't, and you're trying to move forward. And a lot of people will spend their entire life stuck in a situation, not realizing that they're not stuck in a situation, they're stuck in a vibrational frequency.
Absolutely right. In fact, it just occurred to me as you were describing the expectation factor, and I'm glad we are getting into that. One of the key aspects of the expectation factor ties into what is, in my opinion, incorrectly, but often described in terms of toxic positivity. I don't like the phrase toxic positivity because I don't like associating the word toxic with positive because they really don't belong together. But what it really means is it's the same kind of concept as the there's another term that describes the same thing with the imposter syndrome. That's what it is, the imposter syndrome. Yeah. In other words, it's the fake it till you make it belief system that if I just fake it till I make it, I'll be able to make it. But in reality, most often, if you're trying to fake it to get there, if you're trying to be positive just for the sake of trying to be positive, even though you're not really feeling it, you're actually working against your own current vibration rather than changing it. And it's a subtle distinction. It's not an easy distinction to make and to deal with at times, but they are quite different. And the more that we can remember that, the better. Like talking about sporting events, going to a sporting event, and you can measure the crowd's energy and get a sense of how the team's going to do. If I walk into a sporting event where I get the feeling that there's a lot of tension among the fans and they're not really feeling the confidence, they're trying to build themselves up, I'm not a betting man. I don't go bet on sporting events, but if I did, I'd bet on the visiting team on those occasions because the visiting team is more likely to win just because of that kind of not quite there positive vibration that the home fans are having.
Well, and we could do an entire show on the fake it till you make it and where that strategy gets mistaken. So here's my belief. First of all, there is no true toxic positivity. That doesn't exist. They're opposite type things.
They are.
But when you're positive about life and direction, now where it comes into play, you fake it till you make it is a concept where let me just act as if and then I'll eventually become that. Some people find that effective. However, I view as break it till you make it. Ooh. Fail till you make it. Fall apart till you make it. I know my positivity is I know I'll get there, but I don't expect to be able to do something until I totally F it up. Excuse me, I almost said it.
I like that.
Yeah. So I break it till I make it, but I do it in a positive way. I fail till I make. You know how I use failure as a tool of growth.
Absolutely, you do, and very well.
So failure to me is a positive word. So my positivity is, I know I'm going to get there, but my pathway there, I don't want to. I'm terrible at faking it. I go try it and fail horribly enough times, and then I do it. I'm not going to act as if I know how to do something. I'll tell people I'm clueless of what to do. Watch me screw this up for a while, but I will get it.
And notice that there is a connection there to the, and I agree with you. I think the phrase toxic positivity is nonsense. It doesn't even refer to something that's positive. That's why I don't like the phrase.
Exactly.
There's nothing positive about it. But there is a similarity between what you were just describing and that, in that the similarity is tied to what you're really feeling deep down.
Yes.
You don't have to have a high level of belief or a high level of disbelief. You can have just a very low level of either one. But when you're going in with your break it till you make it philosophy, like you said, you're maintaining a sense of the positive, which means to me that when you're adopting the break it till you make it approach, you're doing it with a subconscious belief that on some low level you're leaning more toward this is going to work out well. And that makes a difference.
Well, for me, I'll disagree a little bit. For me, I have no doubt it's going to work out.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Yeah.
It's not a little bit.
It's a lot.
my tool is to break it, fall apart. Don't try it. I want to find out all the ways it doesn't work, and then I'll get there. So the idea that I want to pretend as if I know what I'm doing is not an effective tool for me. Now, I have no doubt this strategy, I am the biggest failure you've ever met. I'm the most successful failure you've ever met, because I use failure as a growth mechanism. I don't view failure as negative. I know I mentioned that, but that's so important to me. So I don't fake anything till I make it. I go out there and just screw it up royally, which is my way of doing it. But it always works out. It's never not worked out for me. So I have zero doubt that I'm going to do it. A nuanced thing. I'm having someone at the gym. I'm changing my deadlifting style, and to the average person that makes no sense and it doesn't matter. But I've done the same deadlifting style for literally 50 years, and I'm just changing it up. That as you get older, there's a different strategy a little bit. Now, I am terrible at this new deadlifting style. I'm terrible at it, but I go in and I try it 3 times a week, and I have the guy that's coaching me, and he's, and I told him, I said, I don't believe in anything other than doing it. And he corrects me, and eventually I'm getting a lot better. I promise you, I will nail this and get my form down perfectly. I will. But we're not there, and I have no doubt that I'm going to be there, but I'm going to keep trying till I get it there. And that's the way to do it.
So let's talk about what you do if you don't have that level of belief. I mean, because I know where that level of belief comes. You have a long history that says it's all going to work out, because
it all works out.
It always works out.
Yeah,
but what if you don't have that belief yet? How can you approach that?
That, to me, as you're saying, I realized at some point that everything worked out beyond my wildest dreams, no matter how much I tried to think it wasn't. And so once you accept it, once I just realized, I don't have any clue how this is going to work out, but I know it's going to work out perfectly. That's what life became. So I did it through trial and error, and just made that discovery that it works out beyond my wildest beliefs. It's simple. It's cruise control for me. If you have a lot of years of not really believing or going that way, the reprogramming of that concept of like, I can't go in with, when I say I fail a lot, I work hard at failing, because that corrects me. I never quit. I never, ever quit. I know I'm going to get it. So failing to me is just simply a tool of how not to do it. I'm really good at learning how to do things by learning how not to do it first. And that's effective for me. So I help people see that. You walk them through that, and then with whatever they're dealing with, start to see the value of that. Be the first one. I always volunteer first. Let me be the one to try. Let me be the one to do that, because I want to just see how it goes. I very seldom do I ever get things right the first time, but I didn't, because I don't try. I'm just okay with not getting it right till I get it right, if that makes sense.
Well, you just also cued something else in my mind, because the examples that you were giving there, both explicitly and in my inference too, were examples about things that you were specifically engaged in doing.
Yes.
Now, I mention that because many people will have negative experiences that aren't necessarily so much about what they're doing, but about what is happening with other people and how their interactions with other people are turning out negative. And there are certain ways that, of course, we feed into that with our actions, but for the most part, we tend to think of those as being outside of our control. And that's where I think a lot of it, I mean, I'm sure you deal with clients all the time who are dealing with that kind of stuff. They have
Oh, yeah.
something that's been going on in their lives. It's some horrible thing. Maybe it's just one-time incident. Maybe it's a series of incidents. But whatever it is, it has kind of poisoned their minds to believe that's all that's ever going to happen. What the hell am I going to do here?
Yes, and that's part of their programming. That's their belief system. So reprogramming that is the hardest part. You just trying to be able to. I like to point out, no matter how bad anyone's life is, and we all have. If you're listening to this, we all have 100% success rate for surviving things we wouldn't survive.
Mm.
So we are victorious. We survived it. I have survived the craziest, wildest, some of the worst stuff you can survive. But so with all of that evidence, I now believe that I am capable of surviving whatever happens. And in fact, I've gone further than that. I don't just survive; I end up thriving no matter what happens. So that's an expectation to me. So what's going to come up that I can't handle?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's also something else that occurred to me. You work a lot with young people. I mean, you have clients of all ages, but you work a lot with young people. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of that started when you kind of accidentally found yourself helping kids who are stuck in the foster care system. But I get the impression it kind of expanded from that point on.
It did. It was just by chance. I was helping some foster care kids,
Right.
and then word got out, and then everybody started coming. But yeah, that's sort of where the origins were.
Right. So what I'm thinking about there, you've told numerous stories. There's one in particular that you've told a lot. We call the young man Marcus, where he came in at age 9 or something like that, and you asked him, tell me about what you do, and tell me about what your life is like, and he starts telling you about all the medications he's on and so forth. And all you were asking about was, what would you like to play soccer? You were on a kind of a different wavelength at first, but in the process of having the conversation, long story short, you helped him kind of flip the switch and understand just how much was inside his control. He thought everything was outside of his control. You helped him see that everything was within his control. And the reason I'm mentioning this is it's a great illustration of how young people have a huge advantage over older people because they don't have the baggage. We've talked about that a lot. So Absolutely. It becomes easier for them. I mean, I was telling that story to my lady friend the other day, the story of Marcus. And she was as blown away as I was the first time I heard it. Like, wow, he made the change in one session. That's incredible. How is that possible? And yet that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that because the stuff that stops us is, as adults, is we have years, of a dialogue of how things are screwed up, how we're not good enough, how you buy into the narratives that other people have told you. You conform to societal beliefs that this is, the world's falling apart. The news media is telling you how negative things are, how sickly we all are. Whatever you're listening to, it's all bad. And so as adults, when I tell this information to someone, they're very skeptical because they're like, you're just full of shit or whatever they're telling me. It can't be that easy. I've lived this. My family has always been poor. Those kind of things. And all they have is evidence to support what their belief system is.
Right.
However, this little kid, Marcus, even though he was in a horrible situation, his mom was in prison. She was killed in prison. He was in this terrible foster care system. But when I got to him, I think he was 12. And he was in the system at 8. I forget all the details, but that's roughly right. And he was still so young that he's like, well, that actually makes sense. I mean, because I started, you have all these people in the foster care system. You have a doctor telling him he's depressed. Well, his mom died. So yes, you're depressed. That's
right. Right.
We don't need Prozac for that. Your mom died.
Yeah.
And so once he had that awakening that he was given a bunch of information that was clearly didn't, and he's a very smart kid, by the way. I mean, He's really smart. He's thriving in life right now. Everything you can imagine he would be doing, he's doing. He's gonna be super rich by the time he's 30. Uh, and all of that started when when he realized he was buying into all the negativity. And when he would get angry at his foster care home, the foster care mom would then report it to the caseworker, who would report it to the psychiatrist, and he'd give him another med for being angry.
Right.
And it's like, he's a little kid whose mom died in foster care. He's angry. He's upset. He's depressed. Has nothing to do with medication. And
That's right.
and once he accepted that, he totally became a different kid in one session, literally. We got him. He got himself off. I didn't do anything. He got himself off all these medications.
Well, he took you along for the ride.
Yeah, I got to sit there and watch this kid own the psychiatrist.
And you got to have the psychiatrist stare you down like, what the hell are you doing here?
He kept asking me what I'm doing here, and the kid was like, "Pay attention to me. He's here because I want him to be here." And so it worked out great. He eventually got adopted by this wonderful family. He's thriving in school. He's in college. He's an entrepreneur. He has 3 or 4 businesses he does.
Wow.
He's just this amazing young man. He sends me the funniest text all the time, sometimes wildly inappropriate, but it's hilarious. And he's got a girlfriend, and it's just this. He doesn't drink alcohol.
Good for him.
Because he got to college. He said first night there, he drank a bunch of alcohol, and he said that is not for the law of attraction. I felt terrible the next day. So he doesn't drink alcohol. And he's thriving. He has a great support group, and all that changed. And it's him doing it. I'm not trying to take credit for this, but once he heard the information one time and it made sense to him, because I asked him, "Why are you depressed?" He goes, very frustrated, by the way. He goes, "Because my mom died and I'm in foster care." He was furious. And I go, "Okay, I get that. So how is Prozac helping that?" And that's when his little brain started. And once that was the piece that turned his brain, because he could then accept everything else they were telling him was a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he went and adjusted. He told his foster mom that night, I'm not going to be oppositionally defiant anymore. I'm going to leave you. I want to be helpful. I'm so sorry I behaved that way. He went to his teacher the next day, said, "Can I move to the front of the class? I'll quit being a little asshole." And of course, teachers, she just thrived on that. And
yeah, sure.
He went from, like D's and F's to A's and B's. And she took special interest, brought him up to the grade level. Foster mom said he was she didn't believe the change. And he's still
do I remember correctly that the foster mom actually called you up and said, "What did you do to him?"
Yeah, she said, "What did you do to him?" I mean, she said, I just can't, I've never seen this change like this. And she's done that for years, and he just totally changed. And then once he changed, then before he was unadoptable because he's a little asshole. Then once he changed that, then he found this wonderful family. He has, in fact, he sent me a picture. So the couple that adopted him, they have a son that's a little older than him, and they're brothers, and they truly are brothers. But they had afterward, they had a surprise little girl, like when, Marcus is like 15 years older than her now. And so he adores his sister. He just adores his sister. And so he sends me pictures of his sister, videos of his sister all the time. And this wonderful story all started when he understood he was in charge of his vibration and could change that. The only time frame that you're looking at is the one you believe is there. There is no time constraints. You can instantly change your vibration, and it responds almost instantly. But most people can't accept that, so it takes a period of time for that to happen.
Right. And I wanted to bring that in because you were talking earlier about the various, I think you said 30 students who are going off to college who are clients of yours.
Yes.
And it occurred to me, when you're that young, even when you're first presented with the information, it can still seem intimidating. Like, can I really have what I'm looking for? Can I really? And I want to give them the message. Not only can you're actually in a better position than the older adults are because of exactly what we talked about. You can make the change a lot easier than somebody else is who's older than you are.
Yeah,
so take advantage of that.
Yeah, take advantage. That's your ability. And, the younger the brain, the more neuroplastic the brain is. The brain is teachable, learnable, malleable. And the younger you are, that is, the older you get, the less it is. And then the belief systems that you were taught are ingrained. And it's hard to reprogram that. So it's hard to change your vibration when you don't believe that changing your vibration makes any difference.
No, I can speak from personal experience because I started this podcast when I was 55. So it took me 55 years to even discover that the law of attraction actually works. Well, I give myself some credit. I finally figured it out. But on the other hand, it took me 55 years to figure out that it was even there and worth looking at. But I got there. And I have been able to make some changes. It took me longer, perhaps, than if I had learned it when I was 15 or 20 or 25 or whatever. But you still can later on. It's just that it's so much easier when you're younger.
When you're younger, because you have, again, less of a file catalog of what could go wrong, or how you had reinforcement of that negative belief that you're not successful. My growing up in a horribly, just a dysfunctional family. My father, biological family, was a compulsive gambler. My mom struggled with money.
Right.
And so that was part of I developed a gambling addiction and struggled horribly with money. And I got into recovery from my gambling addiction. And that was great. But my mindset was still in that lack mindset. I still struggled with money, even though I wasn't gambling. Money never was a thing, that I believed I could. So I had a dialogue that, because my father, biological father, my mother, and me, and it's just generational poverty for us. And I was gonna, and I screwed my life up so bad because of my gambling addiction. Ended up being a convicted felon, so I was even compounded more by the jobs that I would be able to get.
Yeah.
And so the narrative for me was, man, I'm pretty screwed. And turns out I wasn't screwed at all.
Yeah, well, that's the big takeaway right there. Because I would have come to that same conclusion if I were in your shoes. I would have said, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet here you are today, and we look back and we say, well, actually, one of my favorite ways of saying it is, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. You look back, and you and I mentioned you privately and also on the show. When I tell my story, if I didn't live it and you didn't see a lot of it happen in front, it doesn't sound believable.
It doesn't. No. I mean, the only reason I really believe it is, first of all, you're very believable. And second of all, you're very consistent about the way you tell the story. And going back to the first one, you're just very believable. I just believe you. And every time that you tell me another story, it dovetails with that story every time, without exception.
Yeah.
So after a while, I begin to, I kind of put two and two together. You get enough examples. I say, all right, I guess there's a real pattern here. This isn't fake. No, there's no toxicity going on here. This is the real deal.
Well, and on top of that, I have papers and pictures of me, booking photos and facts, and I have a lot of evidence to support exactly what happened. And not just the stuff that happened that way, but the way that I ended up in South Carolina, then ended up in Virginia, how that path walked. But that was all my vibration at that point. And I kept attracting. When I lost my job at Williamsville Wellness, the previous place before I went into private practice, I was pretty good at this, and I had no doubt it was going to work out. I had plenty of money. There was never a second of doubt. It was like, I didn't know how it was going to work out. I knew it was going to work out.
Well, I think that's the big takeaway where vibration is concerned, because I was thinking in my mind earlier that the challenge that most people have where vibration is concerned is believing that their own vibration not only matters, but that by changing it, they will change their experience.
Yes.
It's not that we don't believe it in our conscious minds. We do. It's that we don't believe it in our hearts. Deep inside, we have doubts about it. So not really sure that can actually happen. And that's really what holds us back. The thing that does happen over time, though, and it doesn't matter what your age is, it happens quicker when you're younger. But even when you get up to my age, if you allow yourself to experience life and notice this stuff over a long enough period of time, you do get enough evidence. I mean, it can take a while, but you do get enough evidence that, like you say, it really does always work out.
It does.
And over time, I mean, and there have been a number of times, by the way, where I've accumulated a bunch of evidence. I can see how much evidence I've accumulated, and there's a part of me that still refuses to believe it. And I literally ask myself, how could I have this much evidence and still not believe it? And yet I have. But even with that problem in place, even with that mindset in place, I still keep going. I still get more and more evidence. And finally, I get to the point where I say, oh, well, I guess I can't deny this anymore. I'm trying my best. I just can't do it anymore. There's just too much of the damn stuff.
Well, and one of the things that I don't have regrets, other than my son passing away is something that I can never accept as
Sure.
anything other than I don't want that to happen. But all the stuff I went through, I wish I'd understood the law of attraction. I wish I were introduced to it when I was 12, like
Oh, me too. Oh my
Marcus and
goodness.
I wish I would have. However, for me, all of this needed to happen in order for this to happen, if that makes any
Mm,
sense. And so for this to unfold, it would have been wonderful. I was exposed to that at 12. I mean, there was no way I could have been, because I remember telling a story to you that I was always believed there was something out there. It wasn't religion, but I knew there was
yes.
something out there and I could never find it.
Yes.
And then when I came across the law of attraction, I knew that was it. But
Hmm.
my mom, who was extremely Southern Baptist, would never even allow that concept to be discussed, and she wouldn't
Right.
even discuss it with me. And I did not have the access, but there was a book out way back then when I was 12 years old that I really believed that I was trying to find, and
Mm.
that was Jane Roberts, The Seth
Oh
File.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Seth Speaks. Yeah.
That speaks. Yeah, her book came out right. If I look at the timeline of when I was 12, that's when her book came out, and so that was the time I kept looking and I kept going to the library and I'd ask, but nobody had that book in my town,
Right.
and
Right.
so the idea of sharing it. I know some of my younger clients that I work with, they I will talk to their parents about, I'm going to let them know I'm going to be using the law of attraction unless they tell me not. I'm not challenging their religious beliefs, but
Sure.
this is a functionality of what I believe in, and most of them, accept that. If they don't, I'm probably not a good fit anyway, because I
Right.
can't quit. I'm not going to quit talking about it. So, but when I don't want to disarm them, I'm not trying to talk them out of any belief. I'm just adding that this is a component that's at play here.
Which is the honest thing to do, and it's the right thing to do, and
Yes.
and it's also the smart thing to do for the exact reason that you described, because you don't really want to work with a client where you're fighting the parents all the time.
No, if I've had to let a few clients go over the years because of their parents. They wouldn't
Yeah.
stay. They would not. They couldn't stay out of it. They wouldn't allow the process to happen. It was really sad. And but it was, for the most part, parents are trusting, and they
Mhm.
they and I've built up that to be. I've been here now in private practice for many years, especially in the Richmond area. So I have that reputation of,
Right.
just send him to Joel. He's fine.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another piece of the same thing. Over time, the evidence starts to pile up, no matter what. No
Yeah.
matter it's almost no matter what you believe. I think
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people are encountering today. Like when we started doing the show, you and I started back in 2012, first time we did a show together, and we've been doing shows since then. At that point in time, just the concept of law of attraction was woo-woo. It was about as woo-woo as you could get for that time period.
Yes.
Today, it's like second nature. It's hard to find somebody who is willing to say, I think that's a bunch of crap. You can find it if you really look for them, but they're hard to find because they're such a small piece of the population. And that's the trend that happens no matter what. So even if you're resistant to all this stuff, it catches up to you over time. The evidence starts to pile up, and everybody has their own tipping point, if you want to call it that. And some people, the tipping point is way up there. It's very, very high. It's good. They may not even reach it in this lifetime. But the fact is, we're all moving toward those tipping points. So you don't even have to believe in this stuff. It just shows up anyway.
Well, and you also get to a point, when you're discussing it, or you're, and I discuss it frequently with people. It's just sort of that's, if you don't want to talk about law of attraction, we don't have a lot to talk about, probably. uh, and the belief system, if you don't believe it, then there's evidence. Like, I will tell people that there's a young man at the gym. He's of Russian descent, been here his whole life.
Mm,
Great young man, very entrepreneurial, very negative,
mm,
and so I've always complimented him on his work ethic, and he has, again, multiple streams of income, several companies he's made, Airbnbs. He rents cars. I mean, really a go getter.
okay.
Uh, but very negative, always posting negative stuff on, and he said, look, my Russian background, everybody's negative, and that's what they do. And he had a belief system into that. So I've been talking to him about, I said, look, you and your wife are, I mean, you're under 30, you're wildly successful. I just can't understand why you won't allow. He said, I think I'm cursing it if I say it.
Hmm.
And I said, you're keeping yourself contained and not reaching your full potential by not saying it, but not
Hmm.
addressing it. Success. And so he sent me a message literally this morning, first time I said, your influence has paid. He said, I posted something negative, immediately thought of you, I deleted it. And he said, I am really grateful for the life I have. I'm really grateful for this. I am success in this dialogue. And I really believe that's the catalyst for him that will send him to the next level.
Wow. That's a great way to wind up the show on that. Thank you for that example. And of course, our best of luck to him, because he certainly is on the right path and he deserves it.
Yeah.
But what a great example, because there's somebody who literally, despite all of his efforts to be negative, still found that it was worthwhile to be positive.
Well, and we were, because he had asked me, we see each other at the gym. And again, he's much younger than I am, but we know, I've helped him with his lifts, and he's working hard in the gym, doing all the right things. And so I'd say, he'd ask me, how you doing? And my general response every day, and people know this, is, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what's wrong. I go, well, really? I mean, I'm looking at what I see your brand new Corvette out there. I think you're doing pretty good, And so he laughed. He goes, yeah, but that's, and I said, no, quit excusing it. So over a period of about 6 months, it's really changed. And it's really, and once you grasp that, then you have the keys to the vibration. You understand it. And now him and I haven't talked about vibration and all that stuff. I just talked about, just pay attention to all the great things you're doing. Is every day going to be perfect? No, there's going to be things that happen, but focus. If 90% of your life is going extremely well, why bring attention to the 10% you perceive isn't?
Especially when you do have the 90% that you can focus on.
Always. And I think most people with that, they get it. It's what are our strengths? What are you can focus on what you don't have, and envy. I would certainly not at my age, but I never could have been an NBA player. No matter how, no matter how much law of attraction I would apply, that's just not, it's not in the cards for me doing that. But that doesn't mean that I don't excel in my career. I have the stuff that I do, I'm really good at. Doesn't mean that it's just, I can focus on what I couldn't do. When I got my felony conviction, I earned that, and it's my fault. And that was a limiting belief that I had, that I would never be able to be successful, because who would hire a convicted felon?
Yeah. And look what happened.
And well, I hired him, and he did pretty good.
Yeah. Nice hire, by the way. I like that
good
one.
job. That's probably my best hire, by the way. But my boss is an asshole, just like you.
We'll have to have a chat with your boss sometime about that.
Yeah.
No, this has been good. Thank you so much. And I think that we answered Jen's inquiry just right about how vibration ties in.
It was a great topic today. Thanks, Jen.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.